In a remote village, a young boy named Amir lives with his mother in a tiny mud house. His father passed away when he was young, leaving his mother to raise him alone. Amir's days are spent working on odd jobs to help his mother, often sacrificing his own needs to support her. Despite their hardships, Amir dreams of a better life and studies by candlelight after long days of work. His mother believes in his dreams and saves every bit of money she can spare to buy him books. One day, a new teacher comes to Amir's village, opening up free night classes. Amir seizes the chance to learn more, dedicating himself to his studies. He becomes a star student, but with few resources, he's often teased and looked down upon. However, he never lets the criticism break his spirit. Eventually, Amir's determination catches the attention of a local businessman who decides to sponsor his education. With newfound hope, Amir travels to the city, where he faces even tougher challenges. But through sheer perseverance and dedication, he excels in his studies, eventually landing a job that allows him to bring his mother to the city. With time, Amir's hard work pays off, and he becomes a respected figure, returning to his village to help build schools and provide opportunities for other children like him.
Amir's village was far from any city, isolated by dusty roads and surrounded by barren lands. Despite his young age, Amir worked from dawn to dusk to earn enough to keep his mother fed. At only 10 years old, he would wake up before sunrise to fetch water from a distant well, a grueling task that took hours. Then, he'd help local farmers in exchange for a few coins or food. When night fell, he would light a candle and study under its dim glow, using old, tattered books his mother had found discarded by others. The candlelight became a symbol of his dreams, a small, flickering light against the vast darkness around him. Amir's mother, Layla, was his biggest supporter. Even though she barely had enough to eat herself, she saved bits of her earnings to buy him school supplies. Often, she would sacrifice her meal so that Amir could eat and have the energy to study. Layla would remind him every night, "Education is the only way out of this life, my son." This became Amir's mantra, driving him to study harder, even when he was exhausted. One day, a severe drought hit the village, and work became even scarcer. Amir and his mother faced days without food, relying only on wild plants. Even then, Amir refused to abandon his studies, seeing it as his only hope. His resilience caught the attention of his new teacher, Mr. Rashid, who noticed the hunger in Amir's eyes, not for food, but for knowledge. Mr. Rashid began to tutor Amir, offering extra lessons after class and lending him books. As Amir's skills grew, so did his ambition. He started to dream of becoming a doctor, wanting to return to his village to help the many sick people who couldn't afford medical care. But his dreams were met with resistance from other villagers, who ridiculed him, calling his aspirations foolish for someone of his background. However, his teacher saw the potential in Amir and encouraged him to pursue scholarships in the city. After endless nights of preparation and an emotional farewell to his mother, Amir journeyed to the city, clutching only a small bag of his few belongings. He felt like an outsider in the bustling city. Everything was unfamiliar, from the noise to the buildings towering above him. Despite the hardships, Amir found a way to survive. He worked odd jobs, washing dishes, delivering newspapers, and even sleeping in a small storage room, all while continuing his studies. Amir's struggle continued for years, but he never wavered in his mission. Through sheer perseverance, he graduated at the top of his class, eventually earning a scholarship to medical school. His graduation day was a triumphant moment. He thought of his mother's sacrifices, her words echoing in his mind. Amir went back to his village with a sense of purpose, using his newfound knowledge to set up a small medical clinic for the villagers. The boy who was once laughed at had become a beacon of hope. Amir's story became an inspiration, spreading beyond his village. He taught children from low-income families just like him, who believed that education was out of reach. The villagers who once doubted him now sought his advice and took pride in his achievements. Amir's journey from poverty to success wasn't just a personal victory. It became a lifeline for his entire community.
During his last year, tragedy struck again. Amir learned that his mother had passed away due to an illness that could have been treated if only she had access to proper health care. His world shattered, and for a time, he was lost. But instead of giving up, he channeled his grief into his studies, driven now by a deeper purpose. He would make sure that no other child lost a parent simply because they couldn't afford medical care. Years later, Amir graduated as one of the top students in his class, becoming a doctor. His journey had been long and painful, but his dream had finally come true. Armed with medical knowledge and a heart full of purpose, he returned to his village. Seeing his face again, the villagers who once ridiculed him now embraced him, proud of the boy who had become their doctor. Amir set up a small clinic, providing free medical care to those who couldn't afford it. Over time, his impact grew, his clinic expanded, attracting other doctors inspired by his story. He even started scholarships for local children, helping them pursue their dreams. Amir's journey from a poor village boy to a successful doctor inspired countless others to believe in the power of perseverance, compassion, and resilience. Amir's childhood was a series of trials. Growing up in an environment where dreams were stifled, he knew that his ambitions were unusual. While other children played in the dusty fields or helped their families without question, Amir clung to his books, hoping that knowledge would one day offer him an escape. His mother often said, "The heart that hopes is stronger than any hardship," and Amir lived by these words. As he matured, Amir began to notice the social barriers around him. People in his village often viewed education as a luxury, reserved for the wealthy or the privileged. They believed a poor boy like Amir should focus on earning a living rather than chasing dreams. Even his friends, seeing Amir's dedication, would laugh and ask, "Do you think you're better than us?" But Amir held on to his mother's teachings, knowing that their sacrifices would one day pay off. As Amir continued his studies under Mr. Rashid, his teacher noticed the young boy's unbreakable spirit. One day, Mr. Rashid took Amir aside and shared his own story. He had come from a poor family too but had been given a chance through education. Mr. Rashid's story awakened something profound in Amir. It was the first time he realized that others had walked similar paths and succeeded. Seeing the boy's determination, Mr. Rashid connected Amir with a local charity that helped gifted children from rural areas attend school in the city. Amir received a small scholarship that would cover his tuition fees, marking the beginning of his journey out of the village. It was a bittersweet departure as he left behind everything he knew, carrying only his dreams and the memory of his mother's sacrifices. Arriving in the city, Amir faced a culture shock. He had never seen tall buildings, bustling markets, or crowds that seemed to never stop moving. He rented a small, windowless room near his college and survived on a meager diet, often going without proper meals. His city classmates, who came from wealthy families, would laugh at his simple clothes and rough hands, the marks of a life spent working in the fields. For the first time, Amir felt truly alone. Yet, he found comfort in the library, where he spent hours each day, studying, reading, and immersing himself in the world of medicine. As time passed, Amir started making a name for himself academically. His professors were impressed by his relentless dedication, and he was often praised as the top student in his class. Yet, the pressures of city life weighed on him heavily. There were days when he felt he was close to breaking. Every time he reached his limit, he remembered his mother's sacrifices and Mr. Rashid's words, pushing him to persevere. In his final year of medical school, Amir received news that would shake his entire world. His mother had passed away due to a treatable illness. Stricken with grief, Amir spent days in solitude, unable to reconcile his dreams with the reality of his loss. His mother had been his guiding star, his constant source of strength. Now, she was gone.